What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. But before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic and that the player ratings and potential of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those out there who just want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. So in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, we're going to go to a foreign country for the first time in the series. I really want to do a foreign Who to Sign For because all the English ones I've done so far have been fun, but I felt as though I was neglecting the big European teams, and so today I thought I'd go quite an interesting one. Bayern Munich of the Bundesliga. And why are Bayern an interesting one? Well, because this season they're having a strangely, very surprisingly poor domestic season. Right now in the Bundesliga, I believe at the time of recording this commentary, they're sat in 7th place. It's been a really, really shocking start to the season for the German champions, who, if I remember correctly, have won the Bundesliga title the past 7 years. So they've been dominating German football for years and years and years and years, but finally they're not just showing cracks, they're showing big weaknesses. Right down in 7th place right now, having a really tough domestic season, but they are 5 from 5 in the Champions League right now. They're still saving grace. They've guaranteed qualification to the knockout stages ahead of their battle against Spurs tonight. So yeah, I thought Bayern will be quite an interesting one. Of course, they're a 5-star team, very, very good team, and they start off with a really big budget in the game as well, of around £124.5 million, with wage budget alteration. You always get given a generous wage budget by EA at the start of a career mode. You can bump it up to around 130 to 133 million pounds. So yeah, very big transfer budget, very, very good team, and they are one of the best sides in Europe and one of the best teams in the game. So again, why they're struggling so much domestically, I don't know. But as you can see, the aims in the first season, they are both critical aims, that's domestic and continental, and they are as strong as they can get. You got to win everything in the first season. You got to win the Bundesliga, you got to make it 8 wins in a row. I think, is that right? They won it 7 times in a row? I think they have. But you got to win the Bundesliga anyway. That'll be their 8th in a row if that's right there. They got to win the German Cup, the DFB Pokal, and also they've got to win the Champions League as well. And of course, Bayern, of course, haven't won the Champions League for quite a few years now. Their last win was back in, was it 2014, when they beat Borussia Dortmund in the final at Wembley. But yeah, they've got to win the Champions League as well. So it's as strong as it can get, basically, for Bayern Munich in the first season. But when you have that big budget and a fantastic team as well, it is doable, but of course it will be very tough to achieve the treble as well. Now Bayern's team is almost perfect. There are very little negatives to it. It is just an absolutely remarkable side. It really is fantastic. The only negative you could really point out with Bayern's side is that it's incredibly small. It's only got 24 players in it, and 2 of those players are out on loan. So you've just got 4 reserve players outside your first 11 and bench. It's just a very, very small squad, very small indeed. You've got no players out of contract at the end of the season, 2 players currently on loan in Perisic and Coutinho, but no players, their deals will come at the end of the year. I'd only put 1 player on the transfer list. That is, of course, Sven Ulreich, their backup goalkeeper, of course, had that infamous error against Real Madrid a couple of years ago in the Champions League, but he's the only player I put on the transfer list. Everyone else I would look to keep. So with Bayern's fantastic side and amazing transfer budget, what do you do with Bayern's side in the first season? You know, do you bring in a superstar, just one big name player for like £100 million and leave it there? Well, you can do if you'd like to do so, but my recommendation for who to sign for a Bayern Munich career mode would be just to look to replace those aging players in a couple years' time and improve the squad depth as well. The squad depth is pretty much the only negative that Bayern have. It's an incredibly small squad with just 4 reserve players, and when you're competing across 3 fronts for 3 major honours, you're going to need a thicker squad than what they've got right now. So my opinion is just to improve the squad depth and pick up replacement players for the aging players. So the like of Robert Lewandowski being 30 years old, he'll need to be replaced. Thomas Müller, I think he's in his late 20s, is he? So he'll need to be replaced at some point as well. Manuel Neuer, captain, he's 33 years old as well. So really, it's just about bringing in younger replacements that are very good to begin with now and can start to ease those senior players out of the team in a year or two. So my number 1 recommendation to replace Robert Lewandowski is this guy right here. That is Timo Werner. Werner, of course, of RB Leipzig, he's absolutely fantastic in the game. 84 rated, and because he's out of contract at the end of the season, you can get this guy for around his valuation, or perhaps even under that, of just £37 million. He's got 88 potential out of dynamic potential, should be able to break into the 90s as well. He's got high medium work rates, he's absolutely rapid, so as an impact sub for Robert Lewandowski, he's the ideal player to come on and replace the Polish striker. And again, 7 years younger than Lewandowski, he's not going to take out the Polish striker in the first season, but in a couple years time, when Werner's about the same overall, he's the ideal long-term successor for Lewandowski as Bayern's main out-and-out striker. So in terms of bringing in those replacements, 1 down, 2 to go, and now for the long-term successor for Manuel Neuer, Bayern Munich's captain at 33 years old. I've got 2 names here on the shortlist I think would be absolutely fantastic successors for the long-serving German. You got Kepa of Chelsea and Onana of Ajax. And speaking of Ajax, do you think Ten Hag is going to take the Bayern Munich job and become the permanent Bayern Munich manager? I've got a sneaky suspicion they'll keep an interim head coach until the end of the season, and Ten Hag will take the job come the end of the campaign. But you guys can let me know in the comment section down below who you think is going to become the next Bayern Munich manager. But yeah, Kepa or Onana, in my opinion, should be your 2 targets to replace Manuel Neuer long term. Now, both of which are very, very, very good, and both of which are still very young as well. They're both in their early 20s. Kepa is 1 year older than Onana, but they have the same overall at 84. However, Kepa's potential is 89, whereas Onana's is 88. So really, they're incredibly similar in terms of their age, their overall, and their potential as well. Really, it's just personal choice for who you'd prefer, Onana or Kepa. They'll cost you around the same fee as well, of around £45 million. I opted to go for the Spaniard Kepa, and the main reason why, not just because he had one higher rating for potential, but because his kicking stat is his best stat, and his kicking can become into the 90s. Like Manuel Neuer's main asset is distribution. Neuer is a fantastic distributor ball. As we know, under Pep Guardiola, he kind of reinvented the sweeper keeper role under Manuel Neuer, and Kepa would be the ideal successor for that role because his kicking is so good, and he's also got the GK long throw trait as well. So it's up to you who you prefer there, Kepa or Onana, either of which will be absolutely superb replacements for Manuel Neuer, both of which again are going to cost you around the same fee of £45 million, both around the same age. Kepa 1 year older, but does have 1 rating higher for potential. Either will be superb, and again, with Kepa's main stat there being the kicking at 86, with the potential when he hits 89 overall at full potential, that will be in the 90s. However, 4-star weak foot as well as a sweeper keeper to replace Manuel Neuer. I just think he's the ideal replacement and the ideal successor for Manuel Neuer. 9 years younger, and again, he is 4 ratings lower than the German. He's not going to take Neuer's place in the first team in the first season, but in a year or two, he will become your number 1 as you gradually phase the captain out of the starting 11 and on to the bench until he retires. And of course, he's a much bigger step up on Sven Ulreich as well. So I definitely recommend Kepa or Onana. It's up to you who you go with, but personally, I would probably choose Kepa myself. But anyway, after the 2 big signings there of Kepa and Werner, spending a combined total, I think it was around £85 million, around that amount of money. We'd spent a lot of our transfer budget. We still had quite a bit remaining. I tried to sell Sven Ulreich here to Ghent. Unfortunately, as you'll see, this bid did fall through, but we did get a bid here for Javi Martinez, the Spaniard at Napoli, putting a bid for Javi Martinez here, and he's a very, very good player. There's no need to sell Javi Martinez, but like I said with Bayern, the main philosophy in the first transfer window, in my opinion, shouldn't just be bringing in one superstar. It should be looking to phase out the older players and bring in the younger replacements. Javi Martinez, you can get around 29 to 30 million for him. We got the former as we sold into Napoli, the Italian side, for £29 million, and again, at 83 or 84 rated, there's no need to sell him in the first season. His deal isn't up come the end of the year, but it's up to you if you want to sell him, cashing him straight away. It's up to you. I, personally speaking, would only sell him if you can get around the 29 to 30 million pounds. Otherwise, have this guy on your bench for the most part, because he's very useful with the centre-back role as well as the defensive midfield position. But for a successor for Thomas Müller, this is the guy I would look to bring in. Kai Havertz of Bayer Leverkusen, and after the sale of Martinez, we could afford to get him. Havertz has got some absolutely remarkable stats, and he's one of the best young talents in the game. At just 20 years old, he's already 84 rated, and Havertz has 92 potential, so he can become one of the very best players and one of the elite players in world football once he hits his peak. Now, you will be spending an absolutely mammoth amount of money to get him. We had to agree a deal, I think it was £70 million to get him, 70 million, about that, which is obviously an awful lot of money. That's around £30 million over his current market valuation. So it's a massive, massive overspend based on valuation alone. But it's not the valuation, it's not the overall and evaluation we're thinking of right now. It's the overall and evaluation we're thinking of in about 7 years' time when he's 92 overall and one of the best players in the world. This guy is absolutely remarkable, and his base stats at just 20 years old really are incredible. 4-star, 4-star, 6'2", high medium work rates, as we know, has potential to be special with 92 potential. And again, his stats are just absolutely superb. Physically, he's quick with 89 sprint speed and 82 stamina, using bumping up and down the pitch all game long. He's got fantastic technical stats as well. His ball control, his dribbling, all absolutely wonderful. This guy really is the perfect player to replace Thomas Müller with, because like Müller, he can play on the right side of midfield, or the right side of the wing if you will, and play as an inside forward, or he can play through the middle of the park. So like for like with Thomas Müller, he's fine through the middle, he's fine on the wing, totally up to you. But personally speaking, I'd probably play him through the middle to begin with and capitalise on those superb dribbling and ball control and passing stats, but he's still got the pace to play on the wing if you'd like to do so. It's up to you where you want to play Kai Havertz really, but definitely make sure he's in your first season to begin with to maximise that 92 potential. And with dynamic potential, this guy could hit possibly 94, 95 overall at his peak, and with like ball control being in the high 90s, dribbling in the high 90s, the passing in the 90s as well, this guy would be the perfect playmaker in your Bayern team. So Havertz definitely long-term success for Müller, and after those three signings right there, we were basically done. And after the sale of Ulreich for Fiorentina, that was basically our transfer business done and dusted, with quite a few days to go in the window. Again, the long-term successes there: Havertz for Thomas Müller, Werner for Lewandowski, and Kepa for Manuel Neuer. In the first season, they're probably going to be bench players for the most part, but in a couple of years' time, all three of these guys in their early 20s are going to be tearing up the Bundesliga and tearing up the Champions League in your Bayern Munich side. So those are my three main targets for a Bayern Munich career mode. I think they would be absolutely ideal long-term successors for your aging players. But following that, I did decide to bring in a few more players with Bayern Munich just to litter the reserves with young German talent, really. I mean, again, the only problem with Bayern Munich's side when you take over, as it's such a fantastic side, is that there's very little depth to it. So how would I improve the depth after those three big signings right there? Well, just bringing in young German talents. That's basically all there is to do with the money left over. There wasn't really enough money to bring in a decent player, so I thought, why not just litter the reserves with some good, young, talented German footballers that you can develop for club and country, which is a fantastic name for a series. So there were four players out on the list here: Wagnerman, Dennis, I can't pronounce that surname, Jordan Torunariga, who of course we have in our Sheffield United career mode, he is absolutely superb in that series. And there was another one as well, is that how you pronounce it? Mecha, the striker as well. So four good young German talents there. And again, it's just a way to sort of fill out the reserves and fill out the squad, bring in the squad depth, which again is the only area of concern in the first season, not spend much money on the players, and bring in players that in the future could play a role in your first team. If not, you could sell for a big profit. There's very little downside to signing these players. You know, the wages they go on are relatively cheap and very, very cheap. And again, with the potential they've got, all of these four players here are going to get into their 80s when they start peaking. So at that point, they could have a role in your first team, either on the bench or perhaps breaking into the starting 11, or if you prefer, you can sell them on for a much bigger profit. All these guys are only going to cost you around a couple million each, which really is nothing compared for a club like Bayern Munich side. Again, they've all got showing great potential or the exciting prospect tag. They've got some decent base stats to begin with, and it's always nice to develop some good talent for club and country as well. So yeah, I definitely recommend these four names here. Torunariga, Wagnerman would be my main target. He's got the exciting prospect tag, 4-star weak foot, 82 acceleration, 86 sprint speed, just 66 overall, but 6'2". This guy can play right back, left back. He could probably fit in at centre back as well as a quick centre half. He'd be a really good player. Dennis is pretty decent as well, and Mecha would be a good fourth choice striker to have behind Lewandowski, Werner, and of course the young talented man Arp as well. So yeah, basically to end with Bayern Munich, if you've got any money left over after bringing in those those 3 long-term replacements in Havertz, Werner, and one of Kepa or Onana, I would recommend just bringing in some good young talent, littering the reserves with some good young German players and developing them for, again, club and country as the years go on. I think the final one I did was this guy here, Jonas David of Hamburg. You can get the guy for around his valuation, which is about £500,000. So very cheap contract as well. 62 overall. You might be thinking, well, that's nowhere near good enough for Bayern Munich side, but again, you're not thinking about what he offers you right now. You're thinking about what he'll offer you in the future once he starts hitting his potential in the 80s. So yeah, David was our final signing, and yeah, it's just a way to fill out the squad, get the depth that you were lacking at the start of the season sewn up, and also get some nice young talents. Keep your eye on as the years go by as well. And it's what I mean. You started off with 4 players in the reserves. You've now got higher than that. You've got 10 players in the reserve. So much better depth to the side and a lot of good young talent as well. So following that signing there was still some money left over. We could have bought in 1 or 2, but I thought that would do for now. We got the players we wanted, and in the end, as you can see, we did sell 2 players in the first window. Those were Ulreich and Martinez for a combined total of £39 million. And of course, we spent massive money on our new boys as well. Kepa, Havertz, and Timo Werner coming in for around £150 million combined. So mega money spent in the first transfer window, plus those few million extra spent as well on those reserve players too. But again, we've got those long-term successes for Thomas Müller, Manuel and Neuer, and Robert Lewandowski as well. Even though we did have a net loss of around £110 million, it was definitely worth bringing those players in and spending all that cash. The question was though, would this Bayern Munich side succeed on the pitch? Really, really, really strong objectives. Of course, the strongest they can be. Winning the treble, winning the cup, winning the league, and winning the Champions League as well. With this Bayern Munich side looking for their first Champions League title since 2014, would they be able to do that whilst also winning the domestic double as well? Well, as per usual, we'd simulate the end of the season, where you can see Bayern did win the Bundesliga, their 8th in a row. They finished way clear of Borussia Dortmund, 19 points clear of Dortmund, and they won it undefeated as well. 32 wins in 34 games, only drawing 2 of those 34 games and picking up 98 points. What a season in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich. Almost absolutely perfect. What a fantastic campaign, but that was to be expected really with this Bayern Munich side. Even if they're struggling in real life in the Bundesliga right now in 7th place, they should be winning the Bundesliga very comfortably in your first season. They also won the Super Cup at the start of the season. They beat Dortmund in that as well. Of course, that's the German equivalent to the Community Shield, if you will, and they won the German Cup as well. So a domestic treble, only just though. They beat Cologne on penalties in the end after a stalemate there in the final. I believe where the domestic double was secure, but would they win the Champions League? Sadly not. They didn't even reach the final. They saw an all-English affair. Man City beat Liverpool by 2-1, and we were knocked out in the quarters by Liverpool. So I must admit, it was quite a disappointing campaign in Europe. Of course, no shame in losing to one of the best sides in the world, and of course the current holders of the Champions League, Liverpool, and the eventual finalists too. But I was hoping for at least a final place. In the end, couldn't even reach the semis. That was a bit disappointing. I will be the first to admit it. Regardless, in domestic football though, you couldn't really ask for much better, could you? The Super Cup, the German Cup, and winning the Bundesliga undefeated. So yeah, the Champions League, I'll be the first to admit it, was a bit disappointing, but that's the only red mark on what was otherwise a very successful first campaign. So the team ends up looking like this after the first season. As you can see, Havertz grew 2 ratings, Kepa grew 2 ratings, Werner grew 3 ratings in the first season. So as you begin to phase out those senior players there, the 3 big boys are ready to step right in for season 2, or perhaps midway through season 2 or season 3 if you'd wish to do so. I love the fact Kepa didn't even play a game in the season. The AI manager didn't even use him once in the entire season, but you might have noticed there as you ran through the attributes real quickly, his kicking after growing 2 ratings improved to 94. Kepa, after 1 full season, has 94 kicking, and that's why, again, I'd recommend him over Onana as your first choice replacement for Manuel Neuer, because as a sweeper keeper with the GK long throw trait as well, he would be the absolutely perfect successor for the veteran German. And also you'll see as well, there were developments, like I said there, for Werner and Havertz. Havertz grew 2 ratings in the first season, up to 86 overall. Again, 92 is his potential potential. Already growing 2 ratings in the first season. Lovely technical stat improvements here. He's going to be absolutely unstoppable when he hits his full potential, growing his market valuation by 32%, going up to £55.5 million. Whilst he spent 70 million in the summer window, you'll know in a couple of years' time he'll be worth way more than that. And Timo Werner had a really good first season as well, coming off the bench of Lewandowski. Scored 7 goals in the Bundesliga out of 21 games, so averaging a goal every 3 games as well, and growing 3 ratings too as well. Only 2 ratings behind Lewandowski now, so next season I'll probably look to start Werner and have Lewandowski, who begins decreasing in rating, coming off the bench, even though he did win the Golden Boot in the first season. So yeah, in the end, a very successful season for Bayern Munich domestically. In fact, an almost perfect season for Bayern Munich domestically, winning all the trophies and winning the Bundesliga undefeated as well. Basically, no negatives whatsoever. Champions League was a bit disappointing, but no shame in losing to the holders and the finalists Liverpool there, one of the best sides in the world. And with your big new signings developing well, they're ready to step in for Season 2, where hopefully you'll be able to go a bit further than I was able to do and win that Champions League. But that was today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, so I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did enjoy today's episode and the tips did help you, then please do drop a like. If you're new to the channel, please do click the subscribe button, as I upload FIFA 20 videos every single day, and let me know in the comment section down below who you want to see next in the Who to Sign For series. Have a great day, guys, much love to you all, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.